Hello friends, I'm Lore and I am a Lolita. I used to keep this deep dark secret with me. I would get closer to people in the Lolita community, then one day I'd feel brave enough to tell them I used to be a scene kid. And I found that their response often was, yeah, me too. It makes sense, right? Because scene and emo, it's a Western alternative style. Lolita, it's a Japanese alternative style. It makes sense that people who are interested in alternative styles would learn about and research other alternative styles. Do I think that all scene kids became Lolitas? Do I think that all Lolitas used to be scene kids? No, absolutely not. If you have been on my channel for a while, you've heard me say this time and time again, but I'm gonna remind everybody, people wear Lolita for all different sorts of reasons. People who wear Lolita are all different people with different jobs, different interests, different backgrounds, different music tastes. I think that it's impossible to make a blanket statement about Lolitas or scene or emo people. What I find really interesting though is comparing how people learned about Lolita, how people changed their style from emo or scene, and if it's similar to what they were in Lolita or if it's totally different, and finding those similarities and those differences. Like, that to me for some reason is so interesting and I love hearing about it. I have received some submissions from viewers who have shared their old emo and scene past and explained their styles and how they got interested in Lolita, and I'm going to be going through that. I'm also going to tell you a little bit about my scene emo Lolita history and how my style evolved, and maybe make some predictions about what I may wear in the future. I'm gonna probably go about this in more of a scene direction because that's really what I was interested in, but I'm gonna touch on emo things too. There are some people who sort of blend the two styles together, and there's other people who adamantly keep them separate. So just because I talk about them kind of as one doesn't mean that everyone sees them that way, so I wanted to address that too. So scene and emo were styles that emerged in the early 2000s, and they're considered a youth subculture. They were styles that were predominantly inspired by music, and there's kind of different styles of music that influence scene and emo. And there were sort of different subgenres within scene and emo, although as far as I know, there isn't really like names for them. There are some people who are more inspired by metal, and they would generally wear more of like the band tees and darker colors and chains and studded belts. And then there's also people who were inspired more by like EDM and pop punk, and so they would wear more bright colors and kind of look like ravers. On top of music, there were also sort of pre-influencers on MySpace who, this was the first time we're really seeing people get popular on the internet just for really taking photos and dressing up. And for me, my biggest influence was Zoo and Wig, but now she used to go by Twig, but now she goes by her name Audrey Kitching. Why did I forget her name? Part of what kind of inspired me to do YouTube was their series that never became a series, Trashy Life. And it's so interesting to me because I look at this and it makes me weirdly happy, even though I would never want to wear this style now, and I can't see it existing. Although there are scene kids and emo kids now, and there are people who are reviving it and bringing it back. I just personally can't do it. I don't know why I have such a disconnect. I wanted to quickly address that a lot of the influencers and musicians from this time and style ended up being awful, doing bad and illegal things, and generally involved with a lot of controversy. So if you decide to do more research into this style and time period, please be careful and cautious to protect your own mental health. The typical scene hair is kind of a reformation of like 80s hair metal hair, just a bit messier and more mullety. My experiences with scene and emo were that I was in private school from first grade to 8th grade, and I really did not get to express my style or figure out what my style was because I was in a uniform. I decided to go to a public high school because I was so fed up with private school. And that was the first time that I got to dress up. And I found Scene through my Melodramatic, which was a blog website. Please comment below if you've heard of it because I find that no one's heard of it. But anyways, my friend Bobby, I don't know if you're watching this, but hey, the reason that I wore Scene was because of you. My friend introduced me to this style and it was kind of the exact opposite of wearing a uniform. It was really rebellious. It was, I don't know what the opposite word of modesty would be. I just really latched onto this because I felt like I needed an identity going into high school. Where I knew no one, I needed to establish myself as like, I am a Scene kid. I found out about Lolita in 2006 when I was 16 in high school, and I really felt like I couldn't do it. There were not a lot of sources online where you could ship it to the States. To a high schooler, it seemed like an impossible amount of money to spend. I didn't really know about bodyline, I guess. I was a Lolita at heart. I think through wearing Scene every day and investing so much in it, I started to realize that I was forcing it to be my style rather than really enjoying it as me. It wasn't really me. My senior year of high school, a lot of things happened, and I really wanted to sort of reinvent myself for myself. And I made this extreme transformation into like, I don't know how else to describe my style during that time except for that it was blogspot. I had a blogspot. I had a live journal and I had a blogspot. And it's interesting to me that I sort of went through these phases in my life and my style, which I talk more about in my style evolution video, but I kind of went through like wanting to dress modest to not wanting to dress modest to wanting to dress modest. So does that mean that maybe one day I'll get tired of Lolita and I will be a grandma wearing a vest with my push-up bra and my boobies out? Maybe. I'm totally welcome to that idea. I hope that all of you will still support me in whatever fashion I decide to do. I still sort of look at Scene style and I appreciate it, but I don't think that I could really wear it now, honestly. Like, I just don't think that it's actually really a part of me. When people say it's not a phase, I do feel like for me, it was a phase. And there was a period of time where I completely denied Scene and thought it was so dumb and like, how could I do that? And look back and I was like, now I look at it and I'm like, you know what? I'm glad that I experienced that. I'm glad that I did this style. In the moment when I was wearing it, I loved it and I was so passionate about it. I took these submissions from my lovelylortopics Gmail. I think I posted about it on my Facebook and my Twitter. So please be sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere, so that when I'm looking for certain submissions, you can be involved with it. Everybody's messages were too long for me to read in entirety, so I basically made notes on what to cover. I do not know how to say your name, Satil. I'm so sorry. Inspired by Visual K, and I am so impressed by people who wore Lolita and were inspired by Visual K. And when I first got into Lolita, I was embarrassed of my Scene stage and I was like, yeah, I just was into like visual, but I really was not. I didn't know anything about Visual K. And there are also similarities in style of Scene and Visual K. I feel like, in my own humble opinion, Visual K is like better. I don't know, it's like cleaner, or it's just like more thought out. Refined. Visual K is more refined, and it's also inspired by Japanese Visual K music. So yeah, I love this. Man, when I was in high school, I would have killed to have this sweatshirt with the ribs, and I love the whole MySpace angle. It's so cool to see you wearing dark colors and then wearing all pastels, and there's been so many times when my mom is like, if I could tell you in high school that you were going to be wearing all pastels, you would call me crazy. You wouldn't believe me. And That's what your photos remind me of. Just, you can hear my mom in my head. Next we have Bitter Sweet Ichigo, and they started wearing emo style in middle school until their first year of college, and a lot of their photos were lost, which I completely relate to. They discovered Lolita through anime and were interested in other J fashions like Visual Kei and Decora. They really enjoyed Full Metal Alchemist, and the outro to that anime was by Nana Kitade, and her favorite brand was Baby Starshine Bright. And a lot of people attribute finding Lolita and falling in love with Lolita to Nana, and I didn't discover her until I was into Lolita, and I bought a Gothic Lolita Bible and she was in it, and I was like, who is this person? Her style is so cool. I love that you've kept your stretched ears, your industrial, and your septum piercing even in Lolita. It's really cute. Those are piercings that I often associate with scene, but are not solely emo or scene. And I just love that you are incorporating them into Lolita and still wearing them, even though it appears that you're wearing more like sweet classic. I love it. Like, please keep it up. Also, this cat is so cute. They're just staring at me. I want to pet that cat. Gemma. Gemma has some viral scene videos with like millions of views, if I remember correctly. And then she looks so different as Lolita, like a completely different person. I actually discovered Gemma on TikTok. She makes a lot of really adorable Lolita TikToks. I'm like the biggest TikTok lurker, and I've made 1 or 2 TikToks, but I'm just really not interested in making them. It's just not the format for me. I really respect Lolitas who make TikToks, and I lurk them, and I want to share more of them on my Instagram because I actually watch a lot, and I watch a lot of Gemma's. So it made me really happy when she submitted to this. And she was seen from 2010 to 2013, which is just mind-blowing to me because I feel like it ended in 2008, 2009 when I left it. So to hear that someone got interested in it in 2010 is like, whoosh. Gemma was more interested in the brightly colored 80s inspired scene. I love to see it. Oh my gosh, those freaking rubber bracelets. What if I wore those rubber bracelets with Lolita? I just started doing it and didn't say anything about it. I'm so sorry to laugh. I'm so sorry. I hope that you can also laugh at these too. She's such a cute Lolita. the freaking brass knuckles. The brass knuckles necklace reminds me that when I was a teenager, I was convinced that I was gonna get a brass knuckles tattoo. Me. Can you imagine? And like, I wanted it somewhere really visible. Like, no shade to anyone who has brass knuckle tattoos. I just think that it's very not me. But I was obsessed with them and like the aesthetic of them, and also that diamond, you know the diamond. I got so distracted by Gemma's scene photos that I forgot to really go into how she discovered Lolita fashion. This is the quote from the email that she sent me about it. It seems like she got into a lot of cute stuff at the same time and probably discovered Lolita through YouTube. Harlow always loved goth, emo, and scene, but wasn't able to realize this style because of their parents' rules, which I find really interesting, and I'm really curious if maybe later on they'll experiment with more emo and scene styles. We'll have to see. They discovered Lolita through Tumblr in 2012, and they love to revisit spooky styles and medical themed Lolita fashion. The photo that Harlow sent reminds me of like rockabilly and goth, and so yeah, I think that their hair is kind of seen actually. I feel like you can just see how happy they are in this photo. It's like they're illuminated. I love their hair like this. Harlow has changed their hair a bunch of times, but this is so cute, and this coordinate is adorable. Lorella, or XOTO pill. Lorella is so cool. I wish that my name was Lorella. That would be really cool. They were actually a emo and goth model locally and in goth communities online. And now they're 24, entering Lolita fashion as a sugary, sweet pop Lolita, and they discovered it through Mana and Malice Miser. I'm really curious what these goth online communities were. Was it vampire freaks? So Lou also got into both emo and Lolita through goth websites. What are the goth websites? What are they? Do they still exist? Should I explore them in a video? And he clicked on a link to Meta, which he discovered in 2004. And I think that that's so cool because these goth websites house like emo and all these different substyles and fashions, including Lolita and probably gothic Lolita. That's so interesting to me. So what was the point of this video? I don't know. I really enjoyed looking at these similarities and hearing how you found out about Lolita, hearing about previous styles, and I would love to hear in the comments if you were seen, if you were emo, if wear Lolita now, if you don't wear Lolita now, but you still wore these styles, and just your thoughts around it. Let's keep this nostalgia trip going. And as always, stay lovely.